Does God really choose our leaders? Is he still in charge of that kind of stuff, or do we have to depend totally on the whims of man and democratic process, or other countries, dictators rising up through the ranks? Does God truly choose our leaders? Does he choose us? This is a great question to ask as we go through Numbers chapter 17 today. And good morning, I'm Pastor Rene. Welcome to 747 Morning Inspiration. And today we're going to talk about the dilemma that Moses had in the wilderness and how he fixed it with a budding staff. As we see in Numbers, as they're in the wilderness, there was an uprising by a group of individuals led by Korah, a man named Korah, and they were questioning whether or not Moses and Aaron had the authority to be the only ones to be the priest around this portable tabernacle that they had constructed. So he led the uprising, and long story short, in chapter 16, God wiped out this whole group of people because they were rebellious and they were not submitting to the authority of Moses and of Aaron. And when that happened, the rest of the people rose up and said, you know what, this is not right. Who made you emperor and king? And so now he was faced with everybody wanting to rise up. And God was ready to wipe out the Israelites in the wilderness because of it. But Moses, being an incredibly humble servant, laid down before the Lord and asked God to intervene. And so verse 17 is what the instruction that Moses had to finally put an end to this leadership once and for all. And let's begin starting in verse 1 of 17 of Numbers. The Lord spoke to Moses, saying, "Speak to the people of Israel, and get from them staffs, one for each father's house, from all their chiefs, according to their father's house, 12 staffs." So each of the tribes had a staff, okay? And then they wrote their name of the tribe on the staff. And write Aaron's name on the staff of Levi. For there shall be one staff for the head of each father's house. Then you shall deposit them in the tent of meeting before the testimony where I meet with you. So everybody gets a staff. They put the name of their tribe on the staff. They put it in the tent of meeting. Verse 5. And the staff of the man whom I choose shall sprout. Thus I will make to cease from me the grumbling of the people of Israel, which they grumble against you. Moses spoke to the people of Israel, and all their chiefs gave him staffs, for each staff according to their father's house, 12 staffs. And the staff of Aaron was among their staffs. And Moses deposited the staffs before the Lord in the tent of the testimony. So what he's doing is he's allowing God to call out the leader. He's going to allow God to choose who the leader is going to be. Not the people, not Moses, but God. Verse 8, on the next day Moses went into the tent of the testimony, and behold, the staff of Aaron for the house of Levi had sprouted and put forth buds and produced blossoms, and it bore ripe almonds. There you go. So there's one staff of all the staffs, and this staff blossomed. Then Moses brought out all the staffs from before the Lord to all the people of Israel, and they looked, and each man took his staff. And the Lord said to Moses, "Put the staff of Aaron before the testimony to be kept as a sign for the rebels, that you may make an end of their grumbling against me, lest they die." Thus Moses did as the Lord commanded him, so he did. So here we go. And then the people responded this way. Listen to what they said, verse 12. And the people of Israel said to Moses, "Behold, we perish, we are undone, we are all undone, everyone who comes near to the temple of the Lord shall die. Are we all to perish? And so the people were a little unnerved by the hand of God choosing the Levites, and Moses especially, Aaron's staff, and having Aaron be the one, him and his sons, who were the priests, to make sure the people of Israel were sanctified and were holy. So God did choose a leader. But was that just the Old Testament, or does he choose leaders today? How did the New Testament deal with that? Because remember, in the New Testament, it was the Roman Empire. There were the emperors of Rome, who were pretty dang evil. You think of Claudius, you think of Nero. I mean, some of these guys, Tiberius, they were pretty bad dudes. And yet, God makes a few statements through scriptures that we need to pay attention to, that are necessary for us in order to be ambassadors for Christ and still know that God is in control. It says in Romans 13, starting at verse 1, let every person, that includes you and me, be subject to the governing authorities. For there is no authority except from God, and those that exist have been instituted by God. Now, you may say, but Pastor, there have been good leaders and there have been evil leaders. Remember, God said he even rose up Pharaoh for his glory. That God hardened Pharaoh's heart against the plague for his glory. So God is the creator of the universe. God knows the master plan of the universe. And therefore, God does set things in place. And sometimes the leaders that are chosen are because of the sins of the people. Think of King Saul. King Saul was chosen because he was good-looking, tall, and strong. David was a little ruddy guy. No one really thought David would amount to anything. And so the people chose the good-looking, tall, strong, muscular dude who ended up failing in getting removed from his kingdom, and not the little ruddy guy named David whose heart loved the Lord. So God does have a hand in choosing leaders. It goes on to say in Romans 13, therefore, whoever resists the authorities resists what God has appointed, and those who resist will incur judgment. For rulers are not a terror to good conduct, but to bad. Would you have no fear of the one who is in authority? Then do what is good, and you will receive his approval. For he is God's servant for your good. But if you do wrong, be afraid, for he does not bear the sword in vain. For he is a servant of God, an avenger who carries out God's wrath on the wrongdoer. So there's definitely an emphasis in the New Testament that as ambassadors for Christ, there is a calling to respect those in authority around us. It says, verse 5, therefore one must be in subjection not only to avoid God's wrath, but also for the sake of conscience. For because of this you also pay taxes. For the authorities are ministers of God, attending to this very thing. Pay to all what is owed them, taxes to whom taxes are owed, revenue to whom revenue is owed, respect to whom respect is owed, honor to whom honor is owed. There is a realization that God has a master plan, and God does choose leaders, and if you want to be chosen, like Aaron was chosen, you must be willing to submit to God first and to those in authority around you. It does not say that it is okay to sin with those in authorities over you. It does not say anywhere that we are called to sin. It just means we're called to respect those of authority. And it says in 1 Peter 2:13 and 14, for the sake of the Lord, submit yourselves to every human authority, to the emperor who is the supreme authority, and to the governors who have been appointed by him to punish the evildoers and to praise those who do good. And then finally, 1 Timothy 2, 1 through 4 says this. First of all, then, I urge that supplications, prayers, intercessions, and thanksgiving be made for all people. For kings and all who are in high positions, that we may lead a peaceful and quiet life, godly and dignified in every way. This is good, and it is pleasing in the sight of God our Savior, who desires all people to be saved and to come to the knowledge of the truth. So what's God saying? God is saying, you let me deal with the big issue leaders, but if you want to be a leader, you pray for those in leadership over you, you submit to those in leadership around you, and then I will use you as an ambassador of Christ to lead others to salvation. Wow, what a beautiful statement. So, are there good leaders? Absolutely. Are there evil leaders? Yes, there are. Is there one God over all? You better believe it. We serve God. We submit to leaders. God calls us out as his ambassadors, and we lead as many people as possible to the saving knowledge of Jesus Christ. If you like today's message, hit the like button right there. Beep! Hit the like button, invite your friends, subscribe, and then we'll see you tomorrow morning at, that's right, 7:47. See you then.